Welcome back to Passports to Flavor. It's April, which means it's almost time for Easter, and you might be having leftover Easter eggs. Now, let's be honest, egg prices are probably expensive right now. Maybe by the time you're seeing this, they've all gone down, but as of now, eggs are expensive. So today I'm going to be showing you how to use those leftover eggs, if that's even the case, and if not, I'll give you a quick shortcut on how to make an egg salad with tofu. So we are going to be making egg salad, but not a basic egg salad. We're going to be making a chimichurri egg salad to bring in some Argentinian flavors there. But to get started, I just want to show you how to boil an egg. A lot of people now just use pressure cookers, but if you don't have that technology, it's very simple. So we just have a pot here. We're going to drop however many eggs you want in there. We'll gently place, really, but not drop. And we just want to cover this with enough water to go about your thumb's worth above the eggs. So I'm just going to pour some water in, and this should be cold water. So now, if you look, it's going about up to my thumb. That's enough. We're good to go. And what you do is you just turn it on high heat. What we're doing here, we don't need to set a timer or anything. We're waiting for it to completely boil, like a very rapid boil. Once it's rapidly boiling, we're going to put the lid on, move it off the heat, and let it sit for 15 minutes, and you should have a perfectly hard-boiled egg. So while that's working, we're going to go ahead and move on to the special aspect of this dish, which is the chimichurri sauce. Now, this is not a traditional thing or something you'll find anywhere. If you go in some Spanish culture, in Spain, they have a version of egg salad that has like parsley, garlic, oil mixed in with the mayonnaise. So I'm going with that and just adding some Argentinian flavors because I don't know if you've had chimichurri before, but it's amazing. It can go on anything. So this is just a great sauce to make and an excuse to make it. So what is chimichurri? It comes from Argentina, and it's basically a blend up of a bunch of different herbs with some shallots and some garlic and some red wine vinegar. Typically, if you're going to Argentina, you would have this as like a condiment for on like a grilled steak because it's got a lot of acid that's going to cut all of that richness from it. I actually came across this recipe. I mean, all this stuff kind of stems back to me as a child. My first thing I ever did as a cooking related, my mom took me to Mommy and Me cooking classes when I was 3, and we made egg salad one of the first days we were there. And she says that's why I cook. I mean, sure, we'll give it to her. Not necessarily the reason. And then also, the reason I got into cooking was watching way too much Food Network, but at that time, specifically Rachel Ray. And this chimichurri recipe is very similar to the one that I saw her make one time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just blend up a bunch of ingredients. This is a great kind of cleaning out your fridge recipe. The herbs I'm using are specific, but if you have other herbs, you can throw them in, and I'm sure it'll taste good. So I have a little bit of rosemary here. We're just getting, in general, we just want a cup of herbs. So I'm eyeballing it because I generally know what a cup looks like, but at home, just go ahead and get a measuring cup out and just fill it up until it's full with different herbs. So we're gonna do about 2 sprigs of rosemary, because that's gonna give it a nice herbaceous flavor. And then to that, we'll add some oregano. That is a traditional ingredient in a traditional chimichurri. Also, chimichurri oftentimes has some chili in it. Like I said, this recipe was inspired by a dish I saw Rachel Ray make when I was younger, and hers did not. So my first experience having chimichurri did not have that in there. So this is, not necessarily traditional, but equally yummy. If you want to add some jalapeno or something in there, go right ahead. So this is oregano. We're just putting a couple sprigs in there. And last 2 ingredients are going to be parsley and some thyme. So if you never worked with these herbs before, all I'm doing is just trying to keep the stem off and dropping it in. My first major fine dining restaurant job, I worked at a restaurant in DC, and my first day of work for 8 hours, they had me picking cilantro. So this is not my favorite thing to do, but it is necessary to make this delicious sauce. So just picking off all the sprigs. A couple of the little little stems is fine. They do have good flavor to them. It's not like you can't digest them, but try to avoid as many as possible, but it is getting blended. So we'll do a little bit more thyme because these are tiny little leaves. And then the last herb is going to be a bunch of parsley. I would round it out with parsley. Parsley is a major part of this dish. So this is going to be the rest of the cup. And add a little bit more to this. There was one time in culinary school, I had a class called Advanced Cooking where we had to, it was like mystery basket class essentially, and I made this sauce, and then the chef was like, I really like that, where'd you get it from? And I was like, it's a Rachel Ray recipe, and he didn't like me too much after that. He was not a fan of me after I was telling him the truth, but that's okay. So to this, we have our herbs. We're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of oil. We're gonna add 2 cloves, rather big cloves of garlic. And then also 2 shallots. If you don't have shallots, or if you don't know what shallots are, it's basically like a mixture between an onion and garlic. So that once again, this is getting blended, so I don't need to worry about chopping it too much, but I'm just gonna cut off both sides and peel it. If you don't have shallots or they're hard to find, they have them over in the onion section at most grocery stores, and they're honestly not too expensive. I got both of these for about 50 cents, so you can't go too wrong with that. But if you can't find them, using a little bit of red onion is not going to hurt anything. It's still going to be yummy, okay? And then the last couple ingredients is we're just going to add a little bit of salt and about 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. If you don't have red wine vinegar, others will work, but I'd really suggest going out of your way and getting it. It does add to the flavor. So I'm going to take a pinch of salt, sprinkle that in, and then take my red wine vinegar and just put, I'm going to eyeball it at home. Go ahead, measure it out. Be my guest. About 3 tablespoons in. Okay. And then all we do is blend this up until it's a nice, it should be more on the chunky side. To be honest, it's not supposed to be like a smooth sauce. So we're just gonna blend it for a little bit until it comes together. Using the pulse button as well, just to make sure that everything's getting ground up. Okay. So like I said, it's not supposed to be like a super smooth sauce. We want it to be kind of rough. I was just looking to make sure that the garlic had blended all up, and I'm still seeing some chunks there. So we're gonna go for a couple more seconds on here, and we should get there. In the meantime, if we're looking over here, this is not a rapid boil yet. This is just a simmer. We want it to be like super big bubbles before we put the lid on and turn off the heat. So we're almost there. Always make sure you keep an eye on those eggs. We don't want to overcook them. You can see some big bubbles coming up now from the eggs. So like I said, the next step is we need a tight fitting lid. We're gonna turn off the heat and move it over and just let these cook. Set a timer for 15 minutes. After that, they're ready to go. Then it's the peeling part, which is always complicated, but we'll get there when we get there. The sauce is nicely blended now. I'll show you what it looks like. It's got some chunks into it. I mean, it's got, the leaves are still kind of big, but that's okay. This is gonna be a great condiment in addition to our egg salad. So always make sure you're tasting, make sure it tastes good, has enough salt, and all the acid and everything it needs. Because once again, this is supposed to have the acid to kind of cut from the richness of everything else. So it could use a little bit more salt, but we're pretty much there with everything. And like I said, throwing this on anything, a nice steak. Honestly, in the morning, I cook a nice, if eggs aren't super expensive, I cook an egg and just lay this over top of it, and it makes a great sauce. So we'll mix this around one more time, and then it's time to go ahead and make our egg salad. So now our eggs are fully boiled. We've drained them out. If you want to make sure that your eggs peel the best, you want to do it while they're warm, which sometimes you don't want to do. They're hot, they burn your hands. That's fine. So if they do cool down, my trick and my method to get them is in the egg, there's usually an air bubble down here on the bottom part. So if you look the less pointy end of it, if you hit that first, it should break that membrane. That is where what's clinging to the egg. And then I just crack the other side and roll on up. And let me grab something to put it in. And then it should, if you're good, just peel nice and smooth. And they're working for me today. This isn't a surefire method to do that. I know there's a ton of different ways people cook eggs, and everyone says their way makes them peel the best. And of course, now it's not going to peel for me. But this is the way that I do. If you have a better way, do it. Just showing you a tip that works for me. So once again, cracking on the bottom and the top and rolling pretty aggressively, starting from the less pointy end, and I'm just peeling all of the shell off. Now that we got all the eggs peeled, it's pretty simple. All we're doing is a traditional egg salad, just adding a little bit of that chimichurri to give it some of that, unique flair to it. So all we got to do is chop these eggs up. However you want to do that's fine. Some people have egg cutters, go right ahead, but see how perfect that egg yolk is. There's no green around it. That means it's a perfectly cooked hard-boiled egg. So we're all squared away. And we're just going to chop these up. Now, I know we're all thinking it. Eggs are like way too expensive now. Why are you cooking eggs? And you're right, they are too expensive. I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. Didn't know they were going to be this expensive. But who knows? Hopefully by the time you're watching this, they're not. But if they are, there's still easy ways to make this recipe if you are like really craving that egg salad, or it's a traditional part of your family's Easter or whatever. You can use tofu in replace of it. And if you're like, well, I'm not sold on all that, you can also cut it half and half, right? If you do a little bit of eggs, a little bit of tofu, that works a long way too. If you're using tofu, make sure it's extra firm tofu. If you've never bought tofu before, it comes in various firmnesses. You want extra firm to have that texture of the eggs. So we're just chopping all these eggs up. And then we'll dump it into a bowl. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is one of the first recipes I made in that Mommy and Me camp. In fact, we were on our way there and my mom got a flat tire and I was like, oh no, we're not gonna make it. And that's when she apparently knew I was gonna be a chef. It took me a long time after that. It wasn't until 6th grade I really got into cooking again, but apparently this was the dish that did it. And it was just a traditional egg salad then. I feel like after we made it there, we had it maybe a little too much in the house, so it's kind of steered clear of egg salads for a little bit, but it's been enough time, we're ready to go back. So the rest is just some mayonnaise and some Dijon mustard. It's about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise and a couple tablespoons. You can always eyeball it, you know what a good mixture is. So just dump some of that in. A squeeze of Dijon mustard. A little paprika if you got any, just to give it some flair, and this is some smoked paprika. And then it's about 2 tablespoons of this chimichurri sauce we made, right? Just dump that in, and we're just gonna mix that all around. So everything's combined. It's gonna have a nice green hue to it, giving it some additional color. And you got a nice little unique taste on egg salad. Give it a little taste to make sure it's all good. Check in here. Yeah, that's really good. Honestly, my first time combining these two things together. I've had eggs and chimichurri before, but I've never made an egg salad with it. And that richness that you get from an egg salad is kind of offset by that vinegariness from the chimichurri. So it gives it a nice little oomph of that flavor. It's the traditional thing you know and love, but just a little added twist. So hopefully you make this with eggs if you can, but tofu if the prices aren't right now. And I look forward to seeing you back here next time for the next episode of Passport to Flavor.